Lead together, embrace change, enhance everyone's journey. The 3 core principles of SmartStop, a leader in self-storage real estate across North America, reinforce why we're proud to bring you SheEO Lead-In, the podcast featuring curated conversations with powerful women sharing their impactful wisdom. It's a self-knowledge, self-discovery, and self-preneurship audio storage vault created by and for women. SmartStop's presentation of SheEO Lead-In begins right now.
Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the SheEO Leading-In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of SheEO Lead-In. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights, despite their sometimes rocky paths, and found a way to lead in. Today, we're here with Dr. Cristina Versari, the founder and CEO of San Diego University for Integrative Studies. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to hear all about your story because it is a very interesting one. But let's start out with just kind of an icebreaker, a little fun story about your childhood, if you don't mind.
I grew up in a family with very strong women. My grandmother had 8 children.
Wow.
And she raised them at the same time that she was running a hotel. My mother, one of them, also a very strong woman, a lot of feminist ideas, encouraging us to study, become a professional, become independent. So I had a lot of influence from them. Most of my childhood was involved in sports. I'm a swimmer, so I was always, if I wasn't in school, I was in the pool. So that was my happy place throughout my childhood.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Brazil, in the south of Brazil.
Okay.
And my family is Italian-Brazilian.
Okay. So do you have a word that describes you best?
Determined. I don't give up on anything that I believe in and that I want to accomplish in life.
Nice. So how long have you been in your current career?
Over 30 years.
And how did it all start and then kind of evolve? Because I think that's a little bit of an interesting story too.
When I was in high school, we had a career counselor come in and tasked everybody to help decide what career we're going to pursue. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And the test result didn't give any helpful information. It pretty much said you can do anything. But it made me think about it. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew what I didn't want to do. And I decided I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want anything to do with school. I don't want to be a teacher. My mother was an elementary school teacher. I saw her up until 11 o'clock or midnight every night grading her students' work. I said, I don't want that kind of career. It's endless. You work at work and you work at home. And my very first job when I was 19 was teaching. I started teaching fitness.
Okay. I was going to say, how did you get into what you didn't want to do?
Yeah.
Okay, fitness.
It just happened because I was so into sports, and something came up at the university where I was attending, and I started working at the athletic department as a fitness instructor. And I was in psychology school, and I couldn't relate to anybody in my classes. I couldn't relate to the stories my classmates were talking about, how they wanted to practice in the field. I couldn't see myself in an office talking to people 8 hours a day. And I had an instructor that she said, "You're a swimmer, right?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Have you heard about sports psychology?" I said, "No, I haven't." So she told me all about the field. She said, "It's a new field." And I said, "I can do that. I would love to do that." And I was about 20. And from that point on, my focus was on developing a career in sports psychology. And at the time, there wasn't any training available where I was. So I moved to San Diego to attend the United States International University. There was a school in Scripps Ranch where the founders of the field of sports psychology were teaching. So that's how I started. They became my mentors.
What year was that, if you don't mind my asking?
Early 80s.
Okay, so you were in the beginning of sports psychology.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were my mentors. One had passed away. I'm still in communication with the other one. And so I started building my career. And after I finished graduate school, I went to work for the MBA for many years. I was in charge of the MBA education and career development program, helping all the NBA players on all 30 teams to prepare for a second career, go back to school, get their degrees, or start a business. And in practicing in the field, I realized that what they were teaching in school didn't match the reality of professional athletes. And for many reasons. Most of the textbooks are written by people that do research. They teach and do research at major universities. They don't have applied experience in the field. And that didn't connect. That there was no connection between what was in the textbooks and the reality of those athletes. So I decided to teach sports psychology. I started teaching at a small school in Del Mar, a small private university. And we developed a sports psychology program. And when that program was starting to do very well, that school closed overnight. And I had students arriving from other countries. My mentors were teaching there. It was a very successful program. So I went to the state regulators. I said, I need to find a school for my students. So this woman said, I'll be right back. And she came back with some paper and she said, open a school.
Because there was none.
Right.
Right.
She said, there are no other schools that we can transfer your students to. So here's the application, open a school. And so I had just lost my job teaching at that school. I went home and I spent 3 months working on the application. And 2 months later, I opened a university.
Well, that sure made sense, didn't it, at the time?
I felt I opened for no other reason other than accommodate those students.
Need, right.
It wasn't only my sports psychology students. We had very unique programs. It was kind of a boutique university. We had programs in expressive arts therapy, transpersonal psychology, and there was all those students that had no place to go. And I felt if I was in a position to help them, I should help them. So I opened the university to accommodate them. And that was 25 years ago. So we have been operating for 25 years. We added a lot of programs in business, web design, fashion design, a lot of different areas to meet the needs of some international students. We became the largest non-accredited, state-approved university in California. We had over 1,000 students before the pandemic. We are still recovering from that. The pandemic was devastating for our school because a lot of our students are from other countries. And the borders were closed for almost 3 years.
Right.
So we couldn't enroll any new students. So we're in the process of rebuilding now. But 25 years later, we're still operating And we're still offering one of the few sports psychology programs in the country out of a psychology department. So our program is very unique. The focus is on mind, body, and spirit approach to psychology, and there aren't other schools doing that.
Yeah.
So we meet the needs of a certain type of student population. They want to focus on the application of the knowledge and not research-based.
Well, and it's textbook versus actual real life application.
Exactly.
that you had that experience.
Yes, all of our instructors are practicing in the field. They come from the Olympic Training Center, from the private practice, from the hospital.
Yeah.
They talk about their actual experience in working with clients. So our students, they learn how to apply the knowledge, and they can start working as soon as they graduate. I never understood the concept that you finish graduate school, then you have to go learn how to work.
Right.
Because you don't learn that in school. It doesn't make sense to me. I think if you're going to spend 4 years of your life in school, you need to learn how to do the job.
Absolutely. And if you like the job, because I feel like a lot of people get a degree and then they don't use it because they don't really like what they've learned. They just kind of go, I'm not really interested in this. And then they go in a totally different direction.
Yeah, the career choice that we make has a lot to do with our personalities. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did in the MBA. I test the players. I'm an expert on personality profile. Mm-hmm. I love personality type. And every type is attracted to a certain career. And we don't have that kind of information in school. Everybody should learn that in high school. So you pick a career that's aligned with your personality and your goals, your lifelong goals. So you can enjoy going to work every day. We spend most of our lives at work. So you wanted to do something that you're excited to get out of bed in the morning, go do that. And a lot of people are not in that position because they picked careers because their parents guided them in that direction, or they didn't know what they're going to do. They picked something. We get a lot of students changing careers. We have CPAs, very successful ones, changing to be a sports psychologist. We have a medical doctor wanting to be a sports psychologist. We had a lot of professionals that at one point, they're so unhappy with their jobs that they decide they have to make a change.
So let's talk a little bit about, you and I had kind of talked about this offline. When you were in sports psychology, before you started the school, you were working with all men. And how was that? How did you have barriers with that? Did you feel like that was ever like something that held you back? Or tell us about that.
No, fortunately, I didn't think about that. I was raised by my mom, who said that I could do anything, and I believe it, and I never questioned that. So they picked me among 80 people for the position. And I had been in, excuse me, I had been doing the job for a year. When I went to a first league meeting, that was the first time I was with everybody that worked with the players in the NBA and the Players Association. And I look around, I was the only woman there. And that was the first time that it occurred to me, how did I get this job?
Right.
And I asked, where are the other women? They said, well, we don't have other women. It's just you.
So interestingly, it didn't occur to you, but did it occur to the men? Did you have resistance from them, or no, not so much?
I don't know.
Okay.
They didn't tell me. But following that meeting, my boss from the NBA came to our office in San Diego. Our office was based here. And the first thing he said to me was, I don't think a woman should be doing your job. That was the first thing he said to me. And then we continued the conversation.
Let's get back to that in just a minute after this SmartStop.
SmartStop knows the winning connection is when we elevate success together. SmartStop Self Storage, a California company with nearly 200 properties and over 15 million square feet of rentable storage in the US and Canada, is committed to positively impacting the communities we serve on the national and local level. By aligning our core principles of leading together, embracing change, and enhancing everyone's journey with local initiatives focused on education, health, and social welfare, we all elevate together. Through financial and strategic partnerships with nonprofits and prestigious organizations such as Cloudcast Media, Arrow McLaren IndyCar, Breast Cancer Research Foundation, Wounded Warrior Project, USC Athletics, the Brampton Steelheads, MMA fighters and boxers, and other unique athletes, we aim to foster a sense of unity and pride within the communities we serve, creating a shared identity and generating a positive atmosphere. To learn more about our core values, our locations, and career opportunities, please visit us at smartstopselfstorage.com. SmartStop, elevating success together.
So he said to you that he didn't think a woman should be doing that job?
Yes. He said,
Wow.
I just want you to know that I don't think a woman should be doing your job. And I said, I appreciate your honesty and I respect your opinion and I will do the best I can to change that. And I moved on to what is your advice on how I can do my job. And he became my mentor.
Okay.
He was my mentor. We still talk to this day. And a year later, he came to me and he said, remember what I said when I first met you? And I say, yes. I'll
How
always
could I
remember
forget?
that.
Yes, exactly.
And he said, I was wrong. No one has ever done what you've done for the players in that position.
Wow.
You had more players graduating than anybody else. The players will do whatever you ask them to do. And I have never seen anybody do that before. So,
Christina, I have a question. Just pause for 1 second. How did that make you feel? Because I think oftentimes when someone's wrong about you, they have a misconception or they have a perception that's completely off. They don't normally come back and say that. So that was pretty big that he did that. But how did that make you feel?
you know, I still remember that. So it had a huge impact in my career and my confidence to keep moving forward, doing what I was doing. It confirmed that I was doing the right thing, and the effort that I put into the work, the results that we're getting, that the players were getting, was better than any other time of that program. And a few years later, they gave me the entire program. I became in charge of the program because they had so much confidence in me. At that time when this conversation took place, I was working for a company that had the contract. So later I became that company with the contract.
Wow.
And I respect his opinion so much that I've always contacted him for advice. Every time I wasn't sure about certain things, I would ask him, and I trust his opinion 100%. And I still do to this day. You know, he had a huge impact in my career and in my life.
Well, I think for our listeners at home, what you just shared with us is so important because it could have crushed you. It could have literally crushed you, and you could have just said, okay, I'm doing the wrong thing. And you could have listened to it and you could have walked away. But you didn't. You said, no, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to do this job. And you actually changed what happened in the outcome that could have gone very, very differently. So I think our listeners really need to let that sink in for a minute, because that's a huge lesson right there for everyone, to be able to say, you know what, maybe the beginning of what was said to me wasn't meant for the outcome that ended up happening, but I took it and I turned that around. And then he actually came back to me and realized what he did was probably 100% wrong in the first place. But I think women, oftentimes we have things that happen to us, are said to us, and it really does crush us, and then we retreat. And I think you didn't let that happen. You changed it. You turned it around.
I think it has a lot to do with my belief system growing up, the way I was raised, because it never occurred to me that a woman couldn't do the job. If I had those thoughts, I would have never applied to start with.
Yeah.
So, well, they're never going to hire me. It never crossed my mind that being a woman would be a problem. And I think that has helped in my career, in my life, because whatever I decide that I'm going to do, I don't have those thoughts. And I think I was given the opportunity to do the job mostly because of my degrees. I was the only person that had a PhD in sports psychology among 80 people that applied. But I think I stayed on the job because I showed results. If you get results, people don't care if you're a woman, if you're a man, if you're from another country, they don't care. They want results. They want to see results. If a woman discovered the cure of cancer, nobody cares that she's a woman.
Right.
Okay, so you need to get results. You need to show results to be respected as a professional and to continue to do something.
Well, I think, again, you didn't allow that, what could have crushed you, those words, because words can crush people. I mean, I try to always encourage people because I know that whenever I have felt discouraged by words, that it really resonated with me. And I thought about it for a long time. And I mean, even you said you don't, you remember those words and they, but the good thing is you were strong enough to actually overcome that and turn it around.
The only thing we can control is our thoughts.
Yeah.
We have the ability to control what we think about, how we feel about things, and our actions. No one else has control over that.
Right.
So I don't spend a lot of time thinking about the past or anything that's negative. I think about what's happening today. Now is all there is, right? And the future, I don't spend a lot of time about past experience or especially negative experience. I focus on what has happened in my life that's positive and what I want to see happen in the future. I think this came from the way I was raised, and also I had a life-changing experience when I was 18 that made me appreciate life and focus on the positive every single day. It was a very traumatic experience that very few people ever had. So I think that made me be the person that I am. And from that day on, my focus has always been on positive, what happens, what I want to see happen.
So did you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can. I was shot. I was robbed and shot when I was 18 years old. And my husband was with me, and we're both shot, and we thought we were going to die.
Wow.
And we survived. And from that day on, every day when I wake up and I'm alive, it's a great day. I never had a bad day after that. Because we think there's a few things, if somebody says something, somebody did something, oh, that's a horrible day, ruined my day. Nothing ruined my days. Nothing. Every day is a great day. I'm always happy. I'm always in a good mood. And life is great.
Well, that had to be very scary, and I'm sorry that you went through that. I also think that it strengthened you, and you took that as being a survivor and not a victim, because you do not have a victim mentality at all. Which, don't you feel like so many people have that now? Even with small experiences.
Even with smaller events.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I think the way that you did that, do you share that with anybody when you're like talking to them?
I think one way to have a positive life is not to think about anything negative. So I have never shared this incident with anybody. The only people that knew about it were the people that knew me at the time when I was 18.
Yeah.
Nobody else knew about it, and I never talked about it. But I gave a podcast interview in August, and this came up. So I shared that for the first time, and several people that have known me for 30 years, they text me and said, "Oh my God, I never knew this happened to you. I've known you for so long. I didn't know about that." And that's when I realized, like, wow, I never really shared this with anybody. And I think it's because to have a positive life, you have to focus on what's positive. And I never wanted to think about that. And it was a very traumatic experience. I was very afraid for a very long time. And I felt that I was given a second chance, and I needed to take advantage of that and enjoy my life from that point on. But this really has, I only shared this very recently.
Well, thank you for sharing with us. And, you know, I know it took a lot of courage to do that. But one thing that I might suggest or just kind of share with you is that for me to hear that, I find it very inspiring. And it gives you a lot more credibility when you are raw with people and you explain that, you know, I've been through things too, because there's oftentimes a perception when someone sees you, a notion of, oh, you've got it all together, and oh, it looks like you might have the perfect life, and you've never been through struggles, and my life has been about struggles. You know what I mean? I think there's always that perception that is oftentimes so very wrong. So very wrong.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and I agree with you. And after that interview a few months ago, I had received so many emails and messages mentioning that I realized that I could share more to help other people understand and not give up on if something bad happens to them.
Right.
You don't have to focus on that. It can make you more appreciative of what you have.
Right.
I have always appreciated what I have. I'm not attached to material things. When you think you're about to die, you realize material things don't mean anything. The only thing that matters are the people that we have in our life. That's the only thing that came to my mind at that moment.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that in my life more than anything else is the people that I have in my life.
So what are some other lessons that you've learned that you'd like to share with young women, how they might be able to apply those to their life?
Mm-hmm. And your focus is on, CEOs and people that are running companies, and the percentage of women in such a position is very small. It's about 8.2% in the United States. I didn't even realize it was that low. I thought it was a little higher.
Yeah.
But anybody that wants to do that, don't let anybody talk you out of it. And don't tell your goals to people. Keep your goals to yourself. Tell people what you've done, not what you're going to do, because people will discourage you from doing that, especially if you wanted to do something that's unique. There's not a lot of women doing that. Why are you going to try? You're not going to be able to get it. And by not thinking about the negative and the challenge, I've been able to accomplish so many things in my life that few women have. So don't let anybody talk you out of it. You have to focus on what you want, not what you don't want. Have goals. Take action towards those goals. And keep moving forward. There are going to be a lot of challenges. I had a lot of challenges in my career. I went to graduate school in a second language.
Right.
I was sitting there, I thought, this is crazy. Whose idea was that? I had to learn the vocabulary to be able to, go through graduate school. And I had to write a dissertation in a second language. Those things were extremely difficult. I didn't know if I was going to make it. But I never gave up. I said, I can't give up. How am I going to tell my children that I gave up on this? I can't.
Yeah.
So you just keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Keep going, because you'll get where you want to be. But don't give up. Sometimes people give up when things are just about to change for them.
Yes, true. Yeah.
They
you're
don't
right.
stay long enough. Mm-hmm. Just stay long enough. Don't give up. Keep moving forward.
Well, I oftentimes have found myself saying, when I'm going through one of those rough times, I go, why did I do this to myself? And then you're right. That's when it changes. And it actually, because the pressure is so much, it's you getting ready to bust out of that situation. Don't you feel like that?
Yes. I have this never give up mentality. So I've stayed long enough to see things change. But along the way, many times I thought, no, this is crazy. Why am I staying with this? Just do something else. But I couldn't.
Yeah.
I had to stay, and things changed.
Yeah.
So people have to hang in there a little longer, and things will change. Things get better. And there's nothing that you cannot do. You can do anything. Anybody can do anything. There's people that have done whatever you're trying to do before you. Find mentors. Mm-hmm. I had wonderful mentors, and I relied on them.
So mentors are very important, and I think that a lot of people don't utilize them enough. I'm glad to hear that you still, your one mentor, you still go back to him, and you still work with him. Even, like I said, he could have crushed you, but you turned it around, and you forged a different sort of relationship because he then trusted you.
Yeah, I think about him every day. I've learned so much from him.
I love that.
He became a wonderful teacher.
So you walk into a room of young women and you have some advice for them. What would that be?
Just believe in yourself. Don't listen to people. Don't listen. Only listen to people they're doing better than yourself, and they can share their experience with you. Don't listen to anybody else. Listen to yourself, your intuition, and keep moving forward.
Very good advice. So what's up for you next?
Well, we're rebuilding the school. We are creating new programs. We are innovating with artificial intelligence now. We have a lot of programs using artificial intelligence. We also have a school that offers English as a second language classes, and we are using artificial intelligence for that. So we're rebuilding. I think in another year we'll be back where we were at before the pandemic. We would welcome anybody that might be interested in joining us, as in any capacity, as investors or partners. We are located in Old Town here in San Diego. We are also opening a school in Florida. We've been doing that for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. The school is going to be operating in a couple months. So continue to expand. I don't see myself ever retiring. I can't even imagine what I would be doing if I didn't have work. I love to work. I love to help other people build their careers in sports psychology. I work with professional lacrosse players right now from both lacrosse leagues. So I have clients that I see, and I still work with some NBA players individually. And I even have very young female and male athletes that I work with, like 12 years old. I have some very young athletes.
Yeah.
There's new issues now that didn't exist before, like social media anxiety, and it's impacting young athletes at a level that they need some help.
I'll bet.
So I have been working with them. So I have a lot to do. I have plans to contribute even more to the field of sports psychology. I'm developing an app that's going to bring together all people in a different level of capacities in the field of sports psychology. Providers of services, classes in sports psychology, training programs, literature, podcasts, webinars. So the app's going to be ready in another month. We're going to launch that.
So you have just a little a few things on your list.
I have a lot of things on my list.
Yeah, you do.
My days are very full. I still work 6-7 days a week.
Wow.
And I love my job. I love what I do. So I can't imagine retiring.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm excited to see what you do in the future.
Thank you for having me on your podcast. It's been my pleasure. I really appreciate you giving that opportunity for us to share a little bit about the work that I'm doing.
Thank you so much.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learned how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with SheEO host, Rebecca Jones.
The incredible curated SheEO conversation you just enjoyed was brought to you by SmartStop, a leader in self-storage real estate and a company that upholds its core principles of leading together, embracing change, and enhancing everyone's journey. To learn more about SmartStop, please visit smartstopselfstorage.com.
Cloudcast Media.